Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport, and today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to watch a movie, or bits of a movie, the bits I decided to talk about anyway. So, what movie are we going to watch? We are going to watch the 1966 Grand Prix movie directed by John Frankenheimer, and see why this is one of the most interesting motorsport themed films to ever be made and released. So with that said, let's begin. This film is kind of incredible. The production alone was tricky. They shot loads of footage of the Nürburgring, but then had to turn it over to the Steve McQueen Le Mans film because they lost the contract to have that footage. To get the actual race footage, they had to disrupt lots of Grand Prix practice sessions, meaning that they didn't really have the full support of the Formula 1 crowd to begin with. But honestly, the production was so good that it caught the imaginations of the racing crowd, and eventually they opened their doors and their hearts to this film. That's why we get such incredible footage. The races are amazing. The racing scenes are the best ever put to film, in my opinion. But this film does have issues, and we will get into those issues. But first, let's just talk about this film's production. This film has some incredible editing. It captures the speed and the danger of Formula 1 absolutely perfectly. It doesn't get much better than this in terms of racing films. Not only did this film win 3 Academy Awards, it was also one of the top 10 highest grossing films of its year, which is incredible when you consider what a niche subject it was. But it also showed the danger of Formula 1. That seemed to be its main statement. This is a dangerous sport. And that's again something we'll get into later. But one of its first scenes is shot at Monaco. And it is one of the best racing scenes I have ever seen. Just look at this. Things go bad when Pete Aron, played by James Garner, has a mechanical issue that ends up causing an accident with teammate Scott Stoddard, played by Brian Bedford, that leads to Pete Aron ending up in the Monaco harbour, a la Alberto Ascari, and Scott Stoddard ending up a little bit kind of injured. Okay, so well, he's covered in blood. He's covered in blood, yeah.
Cleared. I need your help.
Oh yeah, no, recovering in a 1960s hospital. That must have been fun. Congratulations, Mrs. Chambers. It's a baby boy. Did you want me to light him a Marlboro? So now we get on to this film's biggest problem. There is just so much goddamn talking.
The accidents and the fires.
I think the problem is there's a lot of subplots, and you need time to establish these subplots. And that means lots and lots of conversations generally meandering between point to point.
Right after the war, my house in Tokyo was used by an American general and his family.
Oh, my darling.
This breaks up the exciting action between the races.
But you've forgotten.
It's not my favourite thing in the world.
The way I feel now, if I could remember my own name, I'd consider myself very fortunate.
What have I forgotten?
Last night, I told you I'd be by to take you to the winner's circle if Scott wins.
Hugo, there's lots of time. The dungarees.
Now, I don't have a problem with long talking scenes in movies. Exposition can be a good thing, but when you think you've only got maybe 20 minutes of racing followed by like an hour of talking, it does destroy the pace of the film somewhat. There are some good talking scenes, and the acting quality is very high. These are all established good actors. But these scenes go on forever, and it makes the film a bit of a drag. The version of the film I have is the Blu-ray Anniversary Edition, and it's 3 hours long. But you think there's only like an hour of racing max, that's a lot of talking. Now, there are a lot of subplots. You have the older Italian driver. In the autumn of his career, he's a former world champion, and he's fallen in love with an American journalist and is cheating on his wife. You have an Italian playboy, and you follow his story for a bit. You have the main character, Pete Aron, who is a sort of second-tier driver looking to prove himself, especially after the massive accident he caused. And you have the other guy's recovery. This all is established with very, very long, very drawn-out talking scenes. But there are awesome ones. For example, Enzo Ferrari actually allowed them into the Maranello factory to film scenes there. Look at this. This is awesome. This is actually the Ferrari factory.
You're still getting yourself into
I'm pretty sure the guy working on the number 17 car just looked up at the
It
camera.
wasn't hopeless to begin with. It just turned out that way. There's a difference.
But you
Is it not just cool enough to work at Ferrari that you have to be in a Academy Award-winning movie as well?
I want to drive for you again, Signor Mineta.
Aaron,
Oh look, there's their Le Mans cars in the background.
you did nothing but tell me what was wrong with our cars.
Ferrari, 3 minutes, 11 secondes, 1 dixième. So far, Safi has the fastest back.
So having failed his job interview at Ferrari, Pete Aron does the only sensible thing and becomes a broadcaster. He doesn't really seem too happy about it though.
95.1 miles an hour. The Clermont-Ferrand circuit is just 5 miles of narrow, twisting road.
Idiot. Don't look so glum. It's an honorable profession. You'd rather be a dog catcher or something?
Or something.
In his new profession, Pete Aron decides to approach the mysterious head of a Japanese team called Yamura and interview the Japanese boss, who only apparently speaks Japanese.
Mr. Yamura wishes you to know that he of course recognizes from photographs the well-known Mr. Aron, although he was at first somewhat confused to find you in your present occupation. He also offers his regrets in regard to your unfortunate accident at Monaco.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. I was wondering if Mr. Yamura would consent to doing an interview.
Mr. Yamura regrets he does not give interviews.
Well, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. See you again.
This doesn't seem to go too well either, although we do see Graham Hill in this scene. Now it's kind of cool that Yamura are in this film because Honda had joined Formula One in 1964 and this directly mirrors it. But it really did seem like a different entity. No Formula One manufacturer had ever come out of Japan before. Now Honda would only be in Formula One for 5 years. On a separate side note, Aron and Stoddard in Monaco are racing for a team called Jordan, run by an angry, irritating oaf. In 1991, Jordan Formula One team would join the grid, run by an irritating, angry oaf. Sometimes it's just amazing how art mirrors real life. Anyway, Pete Aron gets asked to meet Yamura at the Yamura factory, not Honda, and he is offered a job. Before finding out a stunning revelation.
Yes, I was hoping it would reach you in time.
Well, I thought...
He can speak English? Shock on shocks, what a twist!
Yes.
To be fair, this was the 1960s and that wasn't really a, cliched twist yet.
That's quite all right. There have been times when I wish I'd been able to pull something like that myself.
The next race scene is at the Spa circuit, which in the 1960s must have been a terrifying prospect. This film is at its best when it's showing the racing, and this race is incredible to watch. It honestly has everything. The editing is so good, the action is superbly choreographed, and it is just a joy to watch. Did I mention that Spa in the 60s must have been a terrifying proposition? Well, how about Spa in the rain in the 60s? That will put the hairs on your chest. Uh-oh, looks like two rapscallions are sneaking their way near the track. I hope nothing bad happens to them. Holy shit, I don't think they deserved that. Can we get them a refund and a free t-shirt? So Pete Aron wins and celebrates. Stoddard looks on and sort of declares his revenge, I guess.
3 years ago, he's had a lot of bad luck since then. It's great to see him back.
He drove a good race. We'll see how good he is at Zandvoort.
And so we head to Zandvoort. And another fantastic race scene. Again with the split screen editing. It looks fantastic. It sounds fantastic. Interestingly enough, Brian Bedford couldn't actually drive. In fact, the two Italians really struggled to drive as well. So they were mostly filled by stunt drivers with only the actors doing close-up shots. Garner, meanwhile, playing Pete Aron, he had a knack for driving. In fact, he did a lot of his own stunts, and many Grand Prix drivers felt that if he hadn't gone into acting, he could have been a race driver. Although his car doesn't actually have a seat in it because he's actually too tall. But still, good job, James Garner. I mean, you've got Grand Prix drivers telling you could do it. You could have probably done it. In fact, this film helped him grow an interest in cars. So, the upside of working on films, I guess.
He's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us.
Anyway, Stoddard takes the win in Zandvoort, and that leads to the final race in Monza, where all four main characters can actually win the championship. So, an exciting finale has been set up on the banks of 1960s Monza. What could possibly go wrong?
He can't get away. La macchina non riparte. Go away! You'll disqualify me. No!
So Jean-Pierre Sarti has a bad start, He eventually gets it going again, and I'm sure this would be the worst thing to happen to him today. Stoddard and Aron battle it out on track to become the world champion, and the racing at this point is so exciting I can barely breathe. It cuts to some really interesting scenes in between. The shots are amazing. The exposition at this point is amazing. They cut to more talking in the races, but it's all stuff that fits the story and fits the characters, and you can see their storylines wrapping up perfectly. This is brilliant.
It feels like you're getting a series of punches in the back. I hate it. I'm sick of pain. But it's what the car is suffering that really worries me. Because no matter how the car is set up, it bottoms at several places on both bankings. The underside of the car just comes crashing down onto the biggest bumps. Everything's shaking and banging all the time. Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
Now watch him go underneath Gurney in the Eagle. Yes, he's passed him, and now he's passing Bob Turner in the BRM. He's fourth. Sarti's fourth. There are three slower cars just in front. When Sarti's left them, he'll only have Aron and Stoddard between him and the leader, Barlini.
And just as Jean-Pierre Sarti starts to make his way through the field, the exhaust pipe of the car in front falls off and sends him hurtling through the barrier, through the trees. His dummy goes flying out behind him, and he ends up somehow hanging from a branch. Oh, and his car explodes. I'm sure he'll be fine. Kind of a bad day all round, really. This is the point you realise this is not a happy movie. I mentioned before that many of the Grand Prix participants weren't happy to have this film interfere with the race weekends. But it was after showing an early treatment of the Monaco race that Ferrari opened their doors to the factory for them. But this still does not show a good picture of Grand Prix racing through and through. It shows a lot of the dark side, the impossibility of maintaining personal relationships, the horrible injuries and deaths that occurred to many of people's friends, the danger to spectators. And this film really does end on pretty much the most depressing note of all.
What do you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want? Is this what you want?
So after this harrowing scene, the Ferrari team make their decision to pull out the other driver, meaning it's a straight fight between Aron and Stoddard for the title. And both of them go at it hammer and tongs. It's very exciting. A great conclusion to this movie.
la seconda. Stoddard's in front as they come into the last corner. Aron and the Yamura's right on his tail. He can still beat the BRM for the flag. It looks as if the Yamura was just in front. Aron's the winner. Aron's the new world champion. Pete Aron of the United States has won the Italian Grand Prix for Yamura of Japan. And Pete Aron is greeted as the winner of the Italian Grand Prix.
So Pete Aron wins the World Championship and is joined by Stoddard as they seem to rekindle their friendship. And surely everything is happy and perfect and wonderful. But then the announcer kind of shits on their parade.
For this dramatic season of battles for the championship. The tragic fatal accident to the great Jean-Pierre Sarti has cast a shadow over the race. And everyone who knew him or saw him drive will find it hard to accept that his great skill and tremendous personality is lost to us. I'm sure the last thing either Pete Aron or Issa Yamura would have wished is for it to end this way.
And so the movie ends with Pete Aron walking around an empty racetrack. This is a really powerful scene, the sound of the cars going away from the grid, and just the lonely look as he knows he's lost his best friend. It's a sad movie, and it's a sad way to end, but poignant nonetheless. And so, in conclusion, is Grand Prix a good film? Yes it is. It drags a little bit, especially between the first race at Monaco and the Spa race. There's a lot of scenes through that bit. But otherwise, this movie was revolutionary. The camera car was a modified Ford GT40 that was actually driven by Formula 1 race driver Phil Hill. It brought new technology to Grand Prix racing, especially in terms of filming. It was genuinely revolutionary. I recommend giving it a watch. There aren't many better motorsport movies out there, especially not driven with Sylvester Stallone anyway. So remember to leave a comment, like, and most importantly of all, subscribe. I am slowly gathering numbers. What more can I ask for? Have a good one.